Welcome back to Local 33 News Today. A big story that we've been following here in Baton Rouge has been the story with ExxonMobil and the industrial tax exemption program. Joining us to talk about kind of the fallout from all of that is the Baton Rouge Area Chamber President and CEO, Adam Knapp. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thanks for being with us. So a lot of people are talking about this, but a lot of people might not know exactly what has happened, what it means. You guys published an op-ed in the Advocate yesterday talking about how do you guys move forward in terms of what the decision has done for the business climate in Baton Rouge? Kind of just tell us what you guys' position is right now in terms of, in light of all of this turmoil.
Yeah, nothing more exciting than talking about tax incentives at 6:45 in the morning.
Yeah.
The open letter that we had published in the paper yesterday was intended to try to call attention to what it was that Exxon actually did by pulling back their applications. This is an almost unprecedented action to demonstrate just how difficult this process has been and their concern about making future investment decisions. That's the bad news. The good news is they want to continue to make expansions in the South, the Gulf South. They've made clear there's a $20 billion expenditure that's being planned by their corporation. That's coming somewhere in the U.S. Gulf Coast. The question is, will Baton Rouge benefit from that? We've been wanting to see at BRAC a very stable tax climate and incentive policy that says if you follow these guidelines, we'll be supportive of attracting new investments, and there'll be incentives to do so. That's what we're asking for, is to set a stable policy and then follow it.
And speaking of those guidelines and rules, there was some confusion before this decision, and clear up the rules. What are the rules when it comes to this?
So a company who's making a large capital investment at a manufacturing facility, if they want to do so, they let the state know that they're planning to do so, and the state begins a process of letting them apply for what's called the industrial tax exemption. This is a tax exemption that exists in over 30 different states in one form or another to attract manufacturing. For every job that's created in manufacturing in Baton Rouge, another 9 jobs are supported across service firms or restaurants or news anchors, right? So the interesting thing is it creates this ripple effect as the economy grows. That's what the attraction of manufacturing is. The rules that are created say if you do this, we'll provide the opportunity, but you have to go through a local approval process. And that's what has happened and been happening. What happened in the last 2 weeks is after the company followed the guidelines that had been set out by the state, they were rejected at the local level, and then ultimately Exxon pulled back its applications. There was a lot of confusion about whether the state guidelines or new local guidelines were in place, whether they could benefit even though they've started the construction of their work and finished the construction of their work following the old guidelines, and now the new guidelines are in place. So that's where a lot of the misunderstandings and confusion have occurred. Going forward, what I think we're calling for and industry is calling for is stability. We know that we have to make future investment decisions, so looking forward, how will the rules apply? What we hope is that the public is engaged on this issue and really paying attention about just how significant it is if manufacturing were to pull back and not invest and renew its investments here at Baton Rouge.
And we were just talking about before the interview that there will be a news conference later today just talking about how the community can come together and talk about moving forward and keeping those businesses here in Baton Rouge. You're talking about moving forward also, but as your position as the president of the chamber, you know, how do you move forward and how do you reinforce the idea that Baton Rouge does have a stable business climate?
Well, it starts with the company at their corporate level feeling like attacks. There have been a lot of misinformation and attacks on the company, almost singling out the company with misinformation. I think what we'd like to see is that clear information comes out, that the company, especially at the corporate level, sees that the community wants additional investments from ExxonMobil. They want to see additional jobs in Baton Rouge from this company, and then follow on with that with actions to support them for future applications that they bring if they bring additional investments here. And that's really everything that we're focused on, is stability and make sure that their corporate level knows that Baton Rouge wants them here.
Not just with Exxon, but a lot of businesses, and moving forward, I think that lots of folks are going to learn from what we've went through with this process and know how to move forward with that. So thank you for your perspective this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
No problem.
All right, well, we're going to take a quick break. We'll have a final look at weather when we return. We'll be right back.